Advanced Practices, Part 1, Healing Mantras. Back when I was young, I was walking through a state park near Deep Creek Lake in western Maryland. I went off the beaten path and walked through a patch of high grass that was used by deer for bedding down. I could tell by all the pressed down portions that this was where the deer rested. I didn't realize the danger at the time, but a tick grabbed hold of my pants as I passed through the grass and bit me on the back of my left knee. Within a matter of days, a bullseye rash appeared on my leg, and someone noticed it and said to me, "What's that rash about?" And I realized I needed to go to the doctor. I went to a local doctor, a general practitioner, who said that was the sign that I had contracted Lyme's disease and gave me a modest amount of antibiotics to take. Either the amount of the antibiotics wasn't right, or I didn't take them till completion. But in either case, I wound up desperately sick and wound up fainting at work because I was so dizzy. I went back to the doctor, and he gave me another round of antibiotics. While I was taking the antibiotics, the Lyme's disease disappeared for a while, but as soon as I stopped taking them, I was terribly sick. And I realized I was on this roller coaster. As long as I took the antibiotics, I would be okay for a while. But then when I came off, I would be sick again. At that time, I was a pastoral counselor, and by coincidence, I had a patient I was counseling who had been on antibiotics for 7 years. Because of the strain it put on his body, he was now psychotic. And I realized I didn't want to go down that route of endless antibiotics with no actual healing happening. So I decided to stop the antibiotics, to stop dealing with the traditional doctor, and seek alternative ways to heal myself. The first way was homeopathy. That worked for a while, and then it didn't. Then I tried acupuncture. That worked for a while, and then it didn't. I tried hyperbaric oxygen chambers. That didn't work at all. I was starting to run out of options, and I was so sick I couldn't function well at work. I wound up being laid off because I was so mentally disoriented. The infection had now spread to my brain, and the doctor said, "Well, pick out a good nursing home." I was only 54 years old, and the doctor's suggestion made me angry. I wasn't ready for a nursing home. Just because you don't know how to cure it doesn't mean it's not curable. But at that point, I was out of every medical option I could think of, except one that I hadn't tried, which was using a healing mantra. So every day for 4 or 5 months, as long as I could, I would chant a healing mantra. Om Shri Danvantre Namaha. Om Shri Danvantre Namaha. At the end of 5 months, I had a dream. And in the dream, I was traveling in the mountains of Peru, and we were bouncing along in a reconditioned school bus. And there were luggage stacked on the roof, tied down with ropes. And inside there were native women wearing bowler hats and ponchos, and children running up and down the aisles, and goats and pigs and chickens, rabbits wandering around. It was chaotic. And a little boy came up to me and reached in his pocket and handed me these beads. He said, "These are beads of solitude." Then he reached in his other pocket and he handed me little leaves and seeds. And he said, "These are herbs from Peru." And I woke up and I thought, oh, this is it. It worked. The healing mantra worked. I have a dream that shows me how to heal. But then I realized within a few hours that I had narrowed it down to 3,000 possibilities, herbs from Peru, and that wasn't good enough. That wasn't close enough. So for another 2 months, I sat there every day repeating this mantra, Om Shri Danvantre Namaha. Om Shri Danvantre Namaha. After 2 months of this every day, a strange thing happened. A magazine that was sitting comfortably on my coffee table suddenly fell to the floor and opened to a page that had a display ad for a doctor that specialized in chronic Lyme's disease. I was astonished. I called the doctor. He wouldn't take insurance, but I didn't have insurance, so that was okay. So I went to see him. He charged $350, cash only. But when he looked at me, he said, he gave me a thorough physical and said, "Yes, you have chronic Lyme's disease." So the first thing he did, he said I needed to make a radical change in my diet. He suggested that I eliminate all sugar in my diet, no alcohol. I didn't drink, so that didn't faze me. But he wanted me on a high protein diet, meat and vegetables, no caffeine. And then he reached in his drawer and he pulled out these small brown bottles. And he said, "I want you to take these. They are herbs from Peru." When I heard that, I was astonished. This is what I was supposed to take from the dream I had. So the mantra, Om Shri Danvantre Namaha, roughly translated, is asking the divine physician for help. But the way it seems to work is a bit mysterious. The help I received came from dreams and synchronicity, not an expected way for a healing to happen, at least by me. Now, the advantage I had was that I had been meditating at that point for probably over 30 years every day. So I had a solid practice, and I had been using a mantra in my practice, not this mantra, but another one. So I knew about the mystery of using a mantra. But this mantra saved my life. Because if I had listened to the doctor and went along with that, I would have died in that nursing home, probably within a few years, just from defeat and depression. But I'm now 76 years old. Back then I was 54. So it gave me a quarter of a century of life, that mantra did. So don't underestimate the power of these mantras or the subtlety to it. I know that, being raised Southern Baptist, I was used to healings being sort of magical. Jesus would lay hands on someone and they would be healed, or give the word and they would be healed. But this mantra doesn't work that way. It works in a more subtle way. Because the mantra itself is subtle, the intent is subtle. It's asking for a hint. Please give me a hint how I can heal. It's not, I want you to heal me. No, I want a hint on how I can heal, which is a little more modest and more subtle. So if you find this mantra useful, look it up. There's lots of different people that sing this mantra well. Deva Primal is one of them. Om Shri Danvantre Namah.